Your warranty ends on Friday. Why does your transmission start slipping on Monday? You've heard the viral claim, parts are designed to die at 60,000 miles. Today, we'll test that belief without the hype. We'll pull apart the real forces at work, complex electronics, cost-cutting on materials, and modular components that turn small failures into big bills. Then we'll show you how to tell normal wear from a defect, what the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act actually covers, and how to budget or get third-party protection without getting burned. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If parts are rigged to die at 60,000 miles, why do some fail at 12,000 and others last 180,000? The pattern doesn't act like a timer, and that's your first clue that something else is going on. If there were a universal cutoff baked into the design, you'd see a tight cluster of failures right at the edge. Instead, you see scatter, annoying, expensive scatter, across miles, years, trims, and driving styles. The headline sounds simple. Cars are built to fail right after the warranty, so you pay out of pocket. For that to hold across brands and models, you'd need engineers, suppliers, and factories to coordinate the same failure window across different engines, transmissions, and electronics architectures. You'd also need those parts to behave the same way in Minnesota winters, Arizona summers, and stop-and-go city routes. That's not how real hardware behaves. Manufacturing variants, supplier changes, software versions, and usage patterns pull the timeline in every direction. Your brain doesn't help. You remember the one that drained your savings, not the 10 uneventful oil changes. When a repair hits the week after coverage ends, it feels targeted. That's confirmation bias at work. You attach meaning to the worst timing, and it overshadows the millions of cars that pass the same mileage with no drama. Forums, comment sections, and group chats amplify those painful stories, while quiet reliability never trends. Here's the boring math. Failures follow a bathtub curve, a bump of early defects, a long flat period of low failure rates, then a rise as wear takes over. Factory warranties sit over that early bump to catch manufacturing defects and early life issues. They're not a promise of total lifespan. Once you're into the flat middle, random events and maintenance habits matter more than the date on a warranty card. Late life wear shows up at different mileages because heat, load, contamination, and driving cycles vary a lot. Look at reliability data and you'll see spread by make, model, and year. Some alternators run longer after a supplier update. Some timing components get revised mid-cycle. Certain transmissions in one year have higher solenoid issues while the next year improves. You don't see a neat cliff exactly at 36,000 or 60,000 miles. You see bands, outliers, and revisions that move the needle up or down depending on the build. Viral posts love a single horror story. Fleet logs tell a different story. Taxis, ride-hail cars, and delivery vans regularly double typical warranty mileage with basic fluids and wear items. These vehicles idle more, heat soak more, and still rack up miles because maintenance schedules get followed and parts are replaced before they cascade into larger failures. That doesn't mean fleets never break. It means the curve allows long runs when care is consistent. The costs are real, and they sting. A transmission rebuild or replacement can run about $5,700 to $6,259. A power steering pump can eat most of a paycheck. An AC compressor can cross the $1,000 mark once labor and refrigerant are included. Modern cars bundle parts into modules, so one failure inside a sealed unit forces a full replacement. What used to be a small subcomponent swap now becomes a big-ticket repair, and that makes bad timing feel like a plot. Here's where the irritation meets reality. Complexity and cost-cutting turn small glitches into big bills more often than any mythical countdown. Software gates a drivetrain into limp mode when a sensor drifts. A sealed assembly can't be serviced, so you buy the whole thing. Manufacturing targets reliability in production, not surgical repairability 10 years later. The mini payoff is simple. There's no uniform kill switch. You're seeing statistics at work combined with modern design trade-offs that amplify repair costs when something does go wrong. Now that the myth is cracked, let's open the hood on what really breaks and why after warranties end. One $15 sensor can take down a $1,200 module. Why are small failures so expensive now? You see it at the shop invoice level. A tiny part drifts out of spec, a warning light pops, and suddenly you're paying for an entire assembly plus programming. It feels unfair because the failure is small, but the solution isn't. There are three forces driving this: electronics complexity, material cost-cutting, and modular design that turns minor faults into major replacements. Let's unpack them. First, complexity. Modern vehicles run on dozens of electronic control units tied together by CAN and line networks. These modules coordinate engine timing, transmission shifts, stability control, airbags, even the seat that remembers your position. When one node sends nonsense data, other systems defend themselves. That's why a sensor on the engine side can force the transmission into limp mode or disable adaptive cruise. The car isn't being dramatic. It's programmed to protect hardware and safety functions when data looks wrong, so a single hiccup cascades. Software is a big part of this. Vehicles now carry massive amounts of code. Infotainment, climate, ADAS, powertrain, and body controls all depend on software logic. More code means more edges where bugs or integration glitches can hide. Updates can fix a lot, but they also add complexity to diagnosis and repair. You don't just swap parts, you scan networks, check versions, and reflash modules. That raises labor time and requires specialized tools, which inflates the bill long before a wrench turns. Second, cost cutting. Automakers chase weight, cost, and efficiency. Cheaper bushings ride quietly when new but deform faster under heat and load. Plastic impellers move coolant fine until heat cycles and coolant chemistry chew at them. Thinner coatings resist corrosion in tests, then struggle after years of road salt and moisture. None of this needs to be malicious to hurt you later. It just means the margin for error shrinks after the warranty window, especially if maintenance slips or driving conditions are harsh. You can see how the industry responds through part revisions. When a water pump design loses impellers or a timing chain guide wears early, the updated version often uses different materials or geometry. Technical service bulletins flag symptoms and fixes, not as a confession of a countdown, but as an adjustment to extend durability. The first design met the spec. Real-world use exposed a weakness. The revision aims to keep the same performance with a longer service life. Third, modular components. Many assemblies are sealed: fuel pumps, throttle bodies, mechatronic units, and valve bodies. Manufacturers do this to control quality and speed up production. At the line, a sealed module is predictable. In the field, it's expensive. That transmission shift flare you feel? It can be traced to a single solenoid inside a sealed valve body. The solenoid isn't sold individually, so you buy the whole unit, then pay for fluid, gaskets, adaptation resets, and possibly coating. A cheap part triggered the failure, but the design forces a premium solution. This is why failures feel sudden and costly. Systems are engineered to be reliable in mass production, pass tests, and assemble quickly. They are not optimized for surgical low-cost repairs years later. When the web of electronics and modules flags a fault, it pulls big levers to keep the car safe, and those levers are expensive to move back. So when it breaks, what can you do, legally and financially, without getting burned? That's next. Most post-warranty breakdowns come from complexity and trade-offs, not a secret countdown. Target the cause. Start by documenting every oil change, fluid, and repair, with dates and mileage. Check TSBs and open recalls. Those fixes can be free. Know your rights under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act and your state's consumer laws. They help in disputes and tie-in sales issues. Build a plan. Price out likely repairs. Keep a repair fund, and compare it with vetted third-party coverage. Read exclusions, claims timelines, and cancellation terms. If a defect is denied, small claims can work. Anger fades when you diagnose early, budget smart, and act.